So, excuse the pun, but I think it's time to change up a gear or two now. I'd like to introduce our next very special guest, Sylvain Filippi, who is the Chief Technology Officer at DS Virgin Racing.
Good morning.
Good morning. Before we start, I'll just provide a brief background for everybody. Sylvain was awarded a master's degree back in 2003 and started his career at BMW before moving on to Daimler Chrysler, and then a couple of years at Frost & Sullivan before Sylvain co-founded the EV Cup, the Electric Vehicle Cup, which set out to be the world's first racing series exclusively featuring zero-emission electric vehicles. And at the start of 2013, I believe, you joined DS Virgin Racing as its CTO for its Formula E team. And you've been described, I believe, by your own company as a petrol head gone green. Yes. Sylvain, I'm excited to talk to you about the team and about electric cars and about the whole data side of things. But you've obviously had a love of cars for a long time. But what prompted you to focus on the electric vehicles?
I got really lucky and I got to drive one of the very first Tesla Roadsters back in 2007. And it really blew my mind. And it was really something really new that I saw instantly would be better in every way. So, and it was in the same time, I was doing a lot of consulting projects for car manufacturers, and at that time, all they were interested about is electric cars, planning for the future. So yeah, that's how I did my transition, and very quickly I got really addicted by the tech and the possibilities and the revolution that it would bring to the industry.
Now, it's a championship, so obviously winning, and as a team, winning a championship is very important. But what are the other objectives that you as a team set out to do?
It's really way more than just marketing. We really decided that we wanted to enter this if we could develop real tech, because that's why it makes sense. We decided to not only join as a team straight away, but also join as a manufacturer straight away, which can be a bit strange because Virgin don't make cars. But we decided that was really the way to do it, and we got the full backing of the Virgin Group. The story becomes really compelling, and we really have a reason for doing this if we have both the two pillars of Formula E. Develop great tech, which really doesn't exist in any road car and can really be translated to road cars within 1 or 2 years, and improve these cars dramatically. And second, there's no much point developing all this tech if no one knows about it. And Formula E and FIA, it's an old trick, but motor racing is actually a very good way and very cost-effective way to demonstrate, to pass a message, and to make people really excited about the tech.
Excellent. So it's worked with the traditional cars with petrol-based engines, and now you're saying the same principles can be applied. 2 years or so, we can take technology that you're developing basically from scratch and put them into production vehicles.
Yeah. And the main idea, what's the reason why I'm really excited by this, and we are doing more and more partnership with automotive companies and car manufacturers, is that really the time frame used to be 5 to 10 years between tech invented in F1 to a road car, a premium road car, and then going down. In electric cars, there's absolutely no reason why that couldn't be a year or two. And I always make the link, I'm always very keen on the IT industry because I really admire the pace of development. And it's very true that electric cars in general, but electric racing in particular, our development cycle is 2-3 months. We really redevelop things not that quick, which is a complete revolution for the automotive industry. And actually it's a lot more akin to the IT industry, where you guys every year, what you do is pretty much twice as better as it used to be the year before, so same idea. So when we improve electric car technology, we have hardware and software. Still a lot of things we do on hardware, motor, inverters, there's a lot of efficiencies to be found in inverters, and obviously batteries, you all know about that, so we work quite hard on this. But we actually, at our surprise, found a lot of efficiencies in the software. The way we manage the energy, we manage the current from the battery to the motor through the inverter, there's many tricks we can do there that without touching anything, just with a computer, we can improve by a few percent the efficiency, and a few percent in racing is huge. Makes a big difference. So that's the one thing that surprised me the most, and I probably have more software engineers now than I have hardware engineers, which is really strange in racing world, but that says it all.
Now, all motor racing depends on performance data and collecting that and analysing performance data. What sort of data are you collecting and how are you using it?
When starting this job, I always thought the most difficult thing would be to develop new cars, because that made sense. Actually, I found out the two most difficult things and challenging were, one, to build a great team. It's not really that easy to find great people with great motor racing expertise, but also get that new industry. And IT. Funny enough. And the reason for it is that the FIA, in a very clever way, are trying to learn from their mistakes in a way that they see in Formula One, and have imposed some regulations to make our life a bit more difficult, but in a way to make the whole show more efficient. So to give you an example, I am only allowed to bring 20 people trackside operational. That includes all the mechanics and the engineers. That's not much. In comparison, the good F1 teams have 100, 120 people trackside. So I can only have 20. And I have 4 cars instead of 2. So there's quite a lot of work to do. In addition to that, the format of a Formula E race day is 1 day. So instead of 3 days, qualifying Thursday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, qualifying in Saturday and race on Sunday, we do everything on Saturday. So free practice 1 at 8 in the morning, free practice 2 at 10 in the morning, qualifying at midday, race at 4. So it's extremely challenging in terms of logistics, but it's even more challenging in terms of data and building performance throughout this day, because the way we work, we have simulation models, both for the driver and on the computer, to simulate our energy use around the track, and also for the driver to drive this efficiently. But until we go to the track, we don't know if it's really accurate. So the whole point is to correlate as soon as we can the real data we get from FP1 and FP2 to the simulation. And that will always, as a result of that, we'll make big changes to the car, and again the software, how we use the energy, to be as efficient as we can for the race. And to give you an idea of data, we get many different streams of data to build the whole picture, which is what we are doing with the HPE that other teams are not doing yet. We congregate all this data, because it only makes sense if you take one bit of data without the rest, it doesn't really make sense. You have to have the whole picture. So we have, for example, in different feeds, we have timing data, world feed, live telemetry, car data, overall timing and results from the promoter, all these in different formats through different channels. So it's actually really difficult with that amount of time we have to make sense of it. So we've developed with HPE, the first phase of our project was to have a pretty expensive server in our garage with the Vertica database. And all these, we spend a lot of time to get all this amount of data, go straight to the database as soon as possible, digest it, regurgitate it in a different format that we like, that we can work with. All of that goes to the engineer laptops and screens, and in that way give us more time.
So, looking at applying what you're doing to other industries, you've got a big data situation here, and you need precise and timely analysis of that data.
Yeah, absolutely right. And that's critical. As I said, we've improved our performance quite a lot from the first races this season to now, and we haven't changed a single thing on the car. All the performance comes from data analysis and software. That's really all of it. We only get the chance to change the hardware of the car every year. We homologate it in June, and then when the FIA has put the rubber stamp on it, that's it. We cannot change a single bit of hardware on the car until next season, so we'd better get that right. And whatever we have, that's it. We're stuck with it for the whole year. So all the improvements come from data. So it's absolutely critical that we, as I say, correlate the real data from this car to the simulation, and we make a lot of adjustments in a space of half an hour. And then we validate in FP2 that it's the right thing, and then we are straight into qualifying. If you do one thing wrong between this morning period, that's pretty much it. You know you're not going to be on pole, and then your race is going to be tricky. So this morning data analysis and changes on the car is absolutely what it's all about.
Now, you say that you're not racing on existing tracks that we might have seen on TV or on Formula One or playing on our PlayStation games. Yeah. How difficult is it with no fixed infrastructure dedicated for racing to get that data? Yeah,
it's also the very tricky thing, and part of phase one with HPE was also to make sure we have a very robust and stable infrastructure, because we are so reliant on all this, if it doesn't work, we are pretty much screwed. So we have a system, so we have a server that, as I say, costs a lot of money there. We have a duplicate of that exact same server back at base in England. And then we have different batteries there, so even if we have a blackout, we can keep working. And the network is quite sophisticated. We now get the data wirelessly from the cars to the server, and so even when the car is not even in the garage yet, we're already downloading. We save 20 seconds, but that all makes a difference. So the setup is quite complex, and we have a software engineer, a network engineer from HPE who comes with us at every race, and he's there to make sure everything works.
Right, my next question, how do you as a team benefit from having Hewlett-Packard Enterprise as a partner?
We are limited by the FIA. We're a small team, trackside at least, so we don't have time for IT. It has to work. Basically, we need a partner like HPE that can do all this stuff for us, which then is direct performance. Because I have a choice. Out of these 20 people, I could have 10 IT people, but that doesn't quite make sense. I need 8 mechanics and 8 engineers and all that stuff. So the idea is that we needed a really strong partner that understands big data, analytics, critical, and network in a really tough environment. I'm not even talking about the problems we have in China and other places like that. So if you can have these three things, then that means we can focus on doing what we do best, which is racing and racing strategy and driver management and all that stuff.
What's your advice for other businesses and other companies in other sectors? What can they learn from your experience?
This industry, your industry, is moving so fast that we never, and it's a problem with racing, like we tend to be a bit annoying sometimes, but we never take no for an answer. We always want to do better. And when we started working with HP, we had phases, phase 1, 2, 3, which each phase was every year. But that's not at all how we work. Every day almost we wake up and my engineers call me and have the next idea to make things quicker and better. So we constantly improve all the time. So it's a bit of a nightmare for the HP team working with us. We are quite demanding. But the reality, and it really works, that's what's really exciting, is that we have all these demands and these ideas, but you can actually back it up with real tech because you're moving equally as fast. And I was at a meeting with all the CIO of the Virgin Group last week from big Virgin companies. And their pace of change is quite slow because the tech is always there improving, but implementation is quite tricky. We found out that you can always push and demand more and go further, and most of the time it actually works. We live in a sort of small ecosystem. It's probably easier for us than it would be for a very large company. But we found out that we learn a huge amount, and actually the HP dedicated team working with us are also learning a huge amount of the constraints of our environment. And it gets better and better and better because they understand better what we need to achieve, they understand better the environment, and so we actually are able at the moment, we are in a really good phase where we have really good foundation, and now we have, let's say, an idea a minute, and we are able to implement a lot of these ideas really quickly.
How can you take what this industry, our industry is doing, what HP is helping you with, and how can you improve as a team?
For us to win a championship and to provide value to all our partners, we need a very good car to start with, so that's most of my job. We need a very good team, that's actually quite challenging, a very efficient team. And for this team to really be efficient, you need very good tools. What's really exciting is that the FIA are really gradually opening up the rules and make the championship more and more free in terms of what we can do on the car, but also what we can do trackside. So we are going to get more and more live telemetry, we are going to get more and more data. That's only the beginning. So the more data we get, as you know full well, the more we have to be clever on how we analyze it, because what we don't want is to get more data, but then slowing down on the process that we can't have. So we have to make sure that we develop all the time the new software and algorithms to make sure we digest that really quickly. So, and all that while keeping the limit at 20 people. That's not going to change for at least 3-4 years, which means the delta to improve that will be purely software and procedures.
Sylvain, thank you very much indeed. Appreciate it. Thank you.